I am an 28 female who is experiencing night terrors and sleep paralysis for about last 10 years. Last night I woke up 2 times during the night. First time I felt presence of someone, and when I opened my eyes I saw a black shadow standing at my bedroom doors. I shrugged it off and went back to sleep. Second time I woke up screaming because I saw that same black shadow standing at the top of my sleeping boyfriend. This whole thing scared the living shit out of me. My boyfriend asked me straight away what was I dreaming about, and I didn't want to scare him, so I told him that it was nothing. Later today we were talking about my dream, and he told me that he had a dream last night about something sucking his head off. About 2 months ago he also experienced something similar as me when I had an episode of night terror. I am freaking out because this lasts for a really long time and I am questioning my sanity at this point. Does anyone know how to stop this or what is going on? Because the whole day today I had no energy and I felt like my energy was completely drained. I'm starting to believe that I have something evil present in my apartment or attached to me, because when I was living with my parents they started to experience sleep paralysis and night terrors a couple of months after I experienced them for the first time. Hello. Long-time lurker, newly decided to actually take part in the conversation here. I did a lot of looking in the sub to see if I could find anything that matches my experiences, but honestly besides a few, only fleeting, encounters from long ago, I can't find anything, so I hope making this is okay. I also want to apologize ahead of time for formatting/grammar, I am on my phone and it's 2 AM. I finally have the courage to post, so it's as good of time as ever. Ever since I was young I have seen a large black wolf, with red eyes. The first encounter I had with it was when I was 12. I was walking home from school in the mid-afternoon and was mostly zoning out. I used to bring my portable CD player to and from school and listen to CDs on my hour-long trek back home, so I didn't notice him at first. I had to trek through a large suburban area in order to get to my house on the far side of it from the school, but as I'm walking I start to feel uneasy. I begin to look around, and spot this wolf who stood as tall as I did at the time, 5'0", and the only reason this is so ingrained into me is because I remember looking eye to eye with him. I was coming up a hill, and about a block down on the corner of the road he was just standing there staring at me. My grandfather was a canine handler, so I have been raised with dogs my whole life. I immediately went into play it safe mode like I would with a large, unfamiliar dog, and averted my eyes because I didn't want it to think I was challenging it. My turn was thankfully on my left, and the wolf out on my right, so I steadied my pace, reminding myself not to run. Running triggers the hunting instinct, and while I was still trying to wrap my head around the absolute massive size of this creature I did my best to keep my eyes downwards, but at this point I was turning up my cul-de-sac trying to keep it in view. I kept the paws in my sight as I cut across the road up towards my house. That was when they disappeared. I looked back knowing I shouldn't take my eyes off a stray animal, but he wasn't there. I kind of cursed myself mentally at the time. I think I was still in shock from the size that I hadn't processed that it was just a massive wolf in broad daylight. I remember chiding myself as I hurried into my house and closed/locked the door behind me. I lived in that house for a year afterwards and would frequently see him sitting in my backyard, or in the field behind my 6 feet privacy fence running in the unkempt space, or staring directly up at my second-story window. Then I moved from Co. to TX. I thought that would be the end of it, but I continued to see it. I was afraid at first of it, but over time grew used to catching sight of it. Most interactions were just catching him watching me. I never felt threatened, but he was always around. I've had multiple encounters where I wasn't the only one to see him either. I have had exes, and my current spouse, then best friend, see him at 15 on their parents' almost 400 acres of property one night when we were having a sleepover. The next morning we went out to roam the fields. We found a dead cow who had been borne apart, limbs scattered all over the pasture it was in. However, it wasn't supposed to even be there. There were no other cattle there, they were all over a mile away behind 2 to 3 closed fences. I would put more here, but app/phone are lagging due to length. I'm happy to answer questions, or go more in depth on some of my encounters with him, but most of it is just this, watching from afar and dead animals showing up afterwards. I'm 30 now, I moved back to Co last year and I have seen him since the move, but the visits are fewer, and farther between than they were in TX, but I think part of that is because I live in a basement apartment now. And try and limit my outside exposure due to COVID, I'm high risk, and am not outside nearly as often. I'd love to find out just what it is he is though. Maybe put my mind to rest. Let's start this out by saying, I've seen things, all the time I do. It's not uncommon and most of the time I shrug it off. I have GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. I feel emotions a lot heavier than other people do, who don't have it. It can mean I cry for no reason, get angry at nothing, and even laugh at a speck of dust. I overthink every detail about my day, many times. However, one big thing that goes along with this, is that my mind never shuts off. I hear voices that aren't there and so on, I see figures who my brain pretends exist. So that's why I often, as I said before, shrug it off. However, this time was different. Very different. It was a few weeks ago, I was home alone. My parents were at work and I didn't have work, so I just crashed there after school. This isn't uncommon. I do it often. I am a female, and only 18. So I do what any smart gal would do, locked all the doors, because people are crazy. I got a call from my parents saying that they were gonna go to the bar for a while. Fine by me, meant I could read a book and enjoy the peace and quiet for longer. It was around 7, and was dark outside, the moon gave the yard some light. I read my book for an hour, now it being 8:25, I checked my phone, to see if I had any messages. So this time I knew precisely. I heard a sound from the kitchen, my head snapped over. Thinking my parents had gotten home, I didn't hear them enter, but again I was lost in my book. Hello. No one. Odd, okay. It's my brain playing tricks. I do have a strange mind. But, no. There was again, it was a drawn out noise. I couldn't make it out. It gave me goosebumps, but again my mind plays tricks. I should just go check it out to calm my nerves. I walked into the kitchen and stopped, dead in my tracks. 2 of the drawers were open, they shouldn't be. I haven't eaten yet, so I have not even walked into the kitchen. So why were the spoons, and forks, and knives open? Mom. You here? It was fear, I was getting scared. I felt a panic attack coming. It just wasn't right, I like things being perfect. It helps me calm down. So when it isn't, I get iffy. I took deep breaths and closed the drawers. Could have been me forgetting things. The wood being loose and causing them to slide out. Then I heard a knock on the door. Okay, good. Parents are home, they'll understand. They always do. I go back to the living room and go to unlock the door, but it was already unlocked. I let my hand just hover there. I locked that door, I knew I locked that door, I checked 3 times. Peeked at it 5 times. Just to make sure it was locked. I heard a knock again, it shook me out of my slight panic. Sorry, I called to them, and opened the door. No one. There was no one out there. I looked around outside, their car wasn't here. I quickly closed and locked the door again. Stepping back. Okay, so this isn't my strange mind. That door was locked. I knew I heard a knock. Panic, I was having a panic attack, it didn't take much to make me have one. I ran into room and closed my door. I stayed there until my parents got home, and admittedly, I slept on their floor that night. Nothing else has happened since I opened the door. But again, I haven't stayed home alone. I took more shifts at work and refused to be there without someone. Was it my GAD? Was it my mind? Was it something else? Does anyone else have a similar experience? As stated in title, I feel as I'm either hallucinating or my room's haunted. I'll list what has happened so far. Also throw away cause don't want people to try and contact my chain of command. A couple weeks ago around November I would say, I woke up to my light in the closest being sort of dim. I would like to mention that there isn't a way to control the brightness. Anyhow I got up to see if it was some sort of electric issue / turn it off, is still possible but it hasn't happened again so I don't know, and as soon as I got up it turned off by itself. Freaked me out a bit but it was whatever, closed the door, stayed up for a bit and went back to bed. About 2 weeks later in December I was sleeping and I guess I woke up a little bit but I heard my dresser / desk thing move. It's on wheels, and I just noped out, pretended it didn't just happen and was trying to go back to sleep. All of a sudden I swear to you I heard my clothing basket move. I had it on the floor right next to my head that night due to just doing laundry a couple hours before and I swear I heard it moved. After that I jumped up and turned on the lights but nothing really seemed out of ordinary. I couldn't remember if my desk was where it was or if it was moved, and my clothing basket seemed to be around the same place, same as the desk. Didn't go back to sleep that night. Just a few hours ago, and what really inspired me to reach out was the fact that I was waking up, mind you it was around 10 p.m., 2 hours into my sleep, to what sounded like straight up sprinting towards me. Dude, I'm telling you it scared the shit out of me and I jumped up, put on my glasses and just sat on my bed trying to figure out if I was going crazy. I even woke up my roommate, different room but shared common area, and he said he didn't hear anything and I just woke him up. I then called the guy I share a wall with to see if he heard anything, but just my luck he wasn't in his room unfortunately. The problem is that I have zero proof that any of this happened other than my own memories. I plan to get a sleep tracker app installed that people use to record sleep talking to see if I can catch anything. I would also like to add I have once experienced what I know was an auditory hallucination when I had COVID a year or so back, and my family does have a history of mental illness, so it may not be ghosts or whatever, but either way I want to get it figured out. But this is the first time all of this has accrued so frequently and so tangibly.
Mosey on down to the Atomic Shaman Trading Post. We have t-shirts, decals, refrigerator magnets and other swag for sale. What better way to show your support for the show? Our merch can only be found on t.pub/link/Atomic Shaman Trading Post. Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You can follow us on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Catch the live streams on Rumble. Listen to text-to-speech stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube.